What's up, guys? Strangers, Chapter 1, all the spoilers. Let's go! What's up, guys? Welcome to All the Spoilers. It's been a while since I did one of these. And if you'll notice, I'm trying a different mic setup because my lav mic would constantly rub against my shirt if I would like make any kind of movements like downward, especially for like unbox videos and whatnot, stuff like that. I always had to keep my head like completely straight. So that's not, it might not be going away, but in the meantime, I think I'm gonna try this setup. Just let me know if the mic annoys the shit out of you. I like it though. I mean, I still kind of have to control my movements, but not really, because you know I can move around and you know you don't hear scratching. That's the whole point of this. But I want to talk about Strangers Chapter 1. I want to do all the spoilers for this movie because if you follow the second channel Xtra, I put out a video on comments. I guess I call them hate comments. They're not all like hate comments, but I do think. And you know, I blame it on the YouTube review space era, and I do think people maybe they get a little sensitive, or maybe they, you know, maybe they think that reviewers on YouTube have a little bit too much power to influence people to go to a movie or not. And I want to put this out there right now. I don't encourage you guys to not go see him. I don't say out loud, please don't go see this movie. Okay, it's more just to give you my opinion. And I know that there's going to be a percentage of you that are going to disagree with me about any review that I do. It's just human nature. Movies are more of an emotional medium. It's art, and we all accept and receive art in different ways. So don't take my opinion on a movie so seriously. If you agree with me most of the time, then yeah, that's probably a good gauge for you. But I'm not here to tell you to, you know, not form your own opinion. At the end of the day, form your own opinion. And it's sad that I got to say that. You should know better if you watch any review. If you really want to see a movie, you're going to go see it. Like if I really, really want to see like Crow City of Angels. And back then there was no like YouTube space or anything. But I'm such a fan of The Crow, I had to go see that movie. Even though I knew that there was already some bad press about the movie. I didn't care. I loved the property, going to see the movie. And opinions can change over time, too, like it did with the Crow City of Angels. And who knows, maybe I watch The Strangers Chapter 1 after all three of these movies come out, and my opinion completely changes on the movie. And in the context of the three movies, it just makes the first one a masterpiece. Doubt that's going to happen, but, you know, anything's possible. So let's get started with the spoilers. The opening scene of the movie is a guy running from the sackhead stranger. And, you know, long story short, he kills him, but you don't see the kill. The camera pans in front of a tree, and so then you just like hear the whack. At first, I'm like, are they going to show, like, is this going to be a graphic movie? Because, you know, like I said in the spoiler-free review, they flexed that this was like the most brutal killing or murder in American history. And when you put a title like that on a screen, you expect something brutal to follow. And this movie wasn't that. And I don't, you know, I fought the movie for, I guess, false advertising in that sense. Because it wasn't that at all. It was more about tension, and that's fine. I'm completely okay with tension in horror movies. You know, I don't need blood and guts in every single horror movie. But don't start it off with that claim. So then the next thing, spoiler-wise, is when they get to this town, it's a town full of assholes. Can we get away from that trope? Like, it seems like every one of these horror movies where you got characters on a road trip out in the middle of nowhere, and they come to a small town, and sure enough, every customer service representative is the biggest asshole you could possibly imagine, which is not the truth. You know, I've done so many road trips. I've stopped in so many podunk towns, and I'll even say, more times than not, they're the nicer people. It's usually the big cities that you will find the biggest assholes in terms of customer service. But once they get to the Airbnb, which I like that. I like that they changed it up and made it you know, an Airbnb to kind of modernize it. There's been, I mean, at this point I could probably do a top 10 Airbnb horror movies. You know, probably. But it was a good setting. But I, you know, immediately I really felt no chemistry between this couple, Maya and Ryan. And in the original review, I did get my actors mixed up. I called him Jeff. I thought he was a different actor, Ryan Bowen, and it's not. It's Froy Gutierrez or Gutierrez. That's my bad. When I looked at IMDb, and I'm looking at it right now, at face value, and I took a quick look, Ryan Bowen, he looks similar to Froy. So, you know, that was my mistake on that. But again, yeah, I didn't really feel the chemistry between this couple. Like, it wasn't the worst chemistry in the world. And you know what? To be fair, most movies have this type of chemistry these days. It's not like the 80s. I've talked about this before in like live streams and whatnot. It seemed like in the 80s and even 90s, the passion was there. The chemistry was there. You just felt it. Whereas these days, everything feels more, I guess, artificial. But jumping to the end of the movie, just because this is kind of a note on chemistry, I did like how there is a proposal at the right before they die. And one of my commenters said they didn't like that would never happen. But I kind of got what they were going for with that. Like, it was, okay, I know we're going to die now. I just want you to know I want to propose to you. If we'd lived, would you have married me? And I thought it was a sweet moment, actually. And it tied back to earlier in the movie when they're in the diner. Perception was, you know, it's always on the guy. If the guy doesn't ask, it's his fault. But it was actually Maya who was kind of resistant to marriage. So I like that they did the little switcheroo there on that. But back at the diner, we have a group of characters there, and we see Richard Brake. I don't think Richard Brake has a single line in this, but as soon as I saw him, I was like, he's probably going to be a bad guy. He might not be, I don't know. But I guess this ties into what the trilogy is going to be. These are characters that are going to be introduced or reintroduced in the second or third movie, which is kind of cool. Just because we knew that this was a trilogy, but you kind of expected them to come into play sometime during the movie, but they didn't. You know, it's just Maya and Ryan throughout the whole movie making some really weird decisions along the way. I say weird because we've always had this argument about character decisions, and nothing's perfect. If you are in this situation, and how many of you have ever been in this situation? Maybe 1%, if that. So you don't know how you're going to act. And to be fair, I think it's possible for people to make really, really stupid decisions in these situations. I think this movie goes a little far, like with the water bottle, this thing right here, and you know, Ryan has an inhaler, which they used it this one time in the movie, but I think they could have used it in a better fashion. But you know, he has to fashion an inhaler out of one of these, and then he's making that sound with it, and I don't know. I think you kind of go out of your way, and I know it seems like we're nitpicking. But I think when a movie starts off rough, you can't help but nitpick along the way. Give you an example, like 15 minutes into the movie, when they're in the house and the killers are just like all over the place, popping left and right here and there. And it feels like the tension should be ramped up faster than it was. The reaction from Maya should have been a little bit more freaked out. Because I know my wife, if somebody's in our house, and especially if I'm not here, she's really going to be freaking out big time, big time. It didn't feel like Maya was, you know, projecting enough of that. And my daughter, who's sitting right next to me, leans over and she said, "This is really stupid." She's very honest, and I was like, I agree. And I know that this movie wasn't shot in chronological order, and I think that might have been their problem. There have been big movies in the past where the director knew that I must, like 9.5 weeks. I was just reading about 9.5 weeks, which is a completely different genre. But in order to get the correct response from Kim Basinger, Adrian Lin, he shot the movie chronologically. Because he knew that would be the best way, because then she would never question emotionally where she needs to be. But in a movie like this, where they're not shooting chronologically, the emotional range is going to be all over the place. And so I can't really fully blame the actors. The actors, you want to make their job as easy as possible because you want your movie to be the best it can be. And if you're not making their experience as comfortable as possible, then you know it's only going to set you up for failure. And I think that I saw that in this movie. I felt like maybe the actor didn't know where they needed to be emotionally during this scene. You know, you could frame a scene And you don't see the killer in the scene, you just see the actress. And so that actress might not know that the killer's, you know, in the house or right behind her performance. I'm just guessing here, but at the end of the day, the performance wasn't fully where it needed to be at times in this movie. You know, not all the time. I think the performance was really good at the very end of the movie, even though they really just copied the 2008 movie, you know, that ending. It's the exact same ending except for the proposal. So, and I think if you're doing a trilogy, then I think this movie should have maybe changed up the ending and tried something different. Also, just the idea of remaking the first movie, you're doing a trilogy, and our first response to that is, wow, they could get really ambitious with this. This could be going for broke, you know, story-wise. The trailer in this movie literally said, find out how the strangers became the strangers. So are we going to actually like focus more on the killers and how they became the killers? That's what the trailer says. No, we don't get any of that at all. And I tell you, that is frustrating. It's really frustrating because I am really interested in these killers and how they became that. You know, and I actually thought that, you know, Ryan or Maya might have become one of the killers, which I think that could have been a really cool idea, but, you know, we didn't get any of that. And this is a situation where you're not giving me what I want, and that's, you know, that shouldn't matter. Let the director, let the writer tell their story, but don't promote it like, you know, you're going to find out how they became the strangers. You see what I'm saying? Now, also that mid-credit scene where she survived, and, you know, see her in the hospital, and then you see the sackhead killer. You know, they do this freaking trope over and over in the movie where a character moves their head and then you see the killer behind them, and you're gonna use that even in the mid-credits scene, which I thought was pretty lazy. I like that they're getting away from the Airbnb and we're in a hospital. Yeah, that's cool stuff. I like that. And that's where I was comparing it to like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 at the beginning of that movie when you saw Laurie in the hospital. And wouldn't it be cool if the second movie, the whole movie takes place in a hospital? That'd be kind of cool, actually. I would like that because we don't often get hospital slashers. They come along once in a blue moon. And I think the table is set for that. So that's why I said I'm still really curious to see where they're going to go going forward. And you got nowhere to go but up, honestly. So yeah, I don't know what else I can say about, you know, spoiler-wise. This movie doesn't have that many spoilers anyway, but it just had some gripes that were a little bit spoilery that I needed to get off my chest and talk about. But again, if you like this movie, more power to you. I'm glad you guys liked the movie. And I know I'm speaking to like, you know, 0.2% of you in the comments that got a little butthurt that I didn't like the movie at all. And really, guys, when we're talking about stupid character decisions, that's not the reason I hated this movie. The reason I hated this movie was because it was just a complete retread of the original movie done in a far lesser quality fashion. One-dimensional characters, you know, I'm comparing them to Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler, who were very believable, and you just felt so bad for them by the end of that movie. Just from a horror standpoint, the first movie, I think, it's a scary movie. Like, nothing scares me, but I know when a scare is executed properly. And, you know, just a simple knock at the door was done beautifully in the first movie. And there were so many violent moments that really stayed with you. You know, Brian Bertino was the perfect director for that movie. He's a great director. I think he's underrated, actually. Whereas Rennie Harlin, I don't think he was the right director for this property. I don't. I think Rennie Harlin has a lot of great ideas, and I love hearing the guy talk. He's a passionate guy. If you watch some of his interviews, you know, he's a very interesting and fun director to listen to. But his movies don't translate as well as the ideas that are in his head, I guess. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this. I'll definitely check it out again, probably when it comes on VOD, just to see if maybe my opinion changes on it a little bit. I'm not against that. But let me know down in the comments. Are there any kind of things that really, really annoyed you? What's the thing that annoyed you the most? And give me something that you liked a lot about the movie too. I'd like both things in the comments, all right? And the non-spoiler review has over 10,000 views now, and I can't thank you guys enough. I love when you guys just really get passionate about horror and we have a good conversation together. At the end of the day, even if we're disagreeing, I love that stuff. So that's my review for The Strangers Chapter 1. Be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Become a channel member. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.